In this tutorial, I'm going to show you some of the other materials that you can use on felt other than fleece or wool tops. Soft lead pencils and chalk pastels are fun to use on felt, and even coloured permanent markers work. A soft pencil or chalk pastels are very useful to plot out a design, especially if you're working on a big piece. And they're great for younger children too, if you want to avoid the sharp needles. In fact, using chalk pastels on their own is a wonderful way of getting a quick result. You will need a fixative such as this non-toxic, non-aerosol spray to keep the chalk permanent. This is a 6B soft graphite stick which you can buy from good art suppliers. It's a lovely workable medium on felt. This example shows how I've built up the graphite and outlined with a strip of black wool tops. Consider using soft spun knitting yarns or even tapestry yarns. These wools add splashes of colour and can either be needle felted or used for embroidery. With any of these materials or a combination, try to imagine yourself taking a line for a walk. It invites playfulness and opens the door to the unexpected. I paid a couple of pounds in a charity shop for this bundle of stranded pure wool fine embroidery yarns. Most natural fibre yarns can be used for embroidering, applique or couching onto the felt, and it's worth keeping a lookout for stashes that others have discarded if you don't have your own. I invited in textile artist Melinda Schwarkhofer to show some students the possibility of simple embroidery stitches on felt. This can be enjoyed simply on their own, or you could combine them with textile fragments. In this demonstration, Melinda is showing how you can use a fine yarn to hold down another yarn or bunch of yarns or even material on the surface of the felt. Techniques will be covered in a separate video. I don't like throwing away cloth or clothing that is worn out or has no use, especially if it has a beautiful colour or pattern. Even small scraps can be used, and most natural fibre fabrics can have a place on a felt background. In a previous workshop, my student Nicola did this beautifully with these vintage textile fragments from the 1950s, and by combining needle felting with wool tops, she embroidered in the fragments using some fine stitch work. I've already mentioned couching, but there's also applique. This is simply applying textile fragments onto felt using a simple running stitch or couching or embroidery. Some very open weave fabrics can actually be needle felted into the surface of the felt if the gaps between the warp and weft allow the needles to push the fibres into the felt. You need to take care initially that the needles are strong enough to withstand the prodding and also allow for a good deal of shrinkage and distortion, but this can bring about some interesting textures. Some loosely woven or knitted wool fabrics can also be treated in this way. My preference is to exclusively use natural fibres in my work for environmental reasons, and if you want to do the same and are not sure what your materials are made of, then go to my tutorial, Fibre Testing, Hanging and Aftercare. By using a wide variety of the materials I've mentioned, I hope I've encouraged you to get creative.